How about them Bears? Those 1985 Bears, they are who we thought they were. I'll tell you what, the second half of this 1985 Bears at Dolphins Monday Night Football replay, I'm just going to red zone it for you, and then we'll have a little chat about it. And the Dolphins, first and 10 at their 21, 10 minutes 15 remaining in the quarter. Let's go medium to more against the standard. Is 54. Again, ugly numbers. 18. That would be a 23 for McMahon. That's woefully incomplete. No need to even look it up. Second 10 at the 21. 10 minutes remain. Nathan outside standard is 23. The rules are just, and that's a 34 outside B standard. It is a fumble. 0 fumble, and it's D6. Mr. Otis Stick Wilson. And Stick Wilson rolls a 35, 22, is 0 yards. Wilson falls on it. And the Bears defense, big play. Nathan hammered at the line, giving McMahon and company fantastic first and 10 at the Dolphin 21. Peyton up the gut against the standard. His 22 is 16 B standard, 8 yards. I will get Suey inside G. Be 31. Oh, no key again. 18 BG. 2 yards and the first down from Matt Suey. First and 10 at the 11 and killing some clock too. I tell you, Suey doing his best Zonka impersonation here. Wow, could the Dolphins suit up some of the those old veterans there? Zonka's only been out of the game a few years, you know, so short to McKinnon standard is 43. You gotta be very careful. 43 is a 27. McMahon again, scramble. Outside as a 12 is 25. Nothing doing there. Second and 10. McMahon's been on the run a few times today, so the Killer Bees doing a good job there. All right. Peyton outside standard, 41, 25 B standard, and that's nothing. That's third, and 10 at the 11. Short to Galt D, I guess. Short to Galt 26 is 17 AD. That'll be nothing doing. Mr. Kevin Butler here, 28 yards, and that's a 61 is a 7 from the 11. More than good, and the Bears are up 10-0. Out first and 10 for the Bears at their 24, up 10-0. 6 minutes to go. Suey outside standard is 32, 26 B standard. Minus a yard. Second and 11 for Chicago. Peyton outside against the standard is 35, 16 to be 18 B standard. 6 out of bounds. Let's go short to McKinnon against the standard. His 64 is 26. McMahon again. Is he just doing this on purpose? Oh, and there he rolls the 66. 3 B standard. McMahon takes off for 25 yards. First and 10 for the Bears. 9.5 plays to go. Medium to Galt against the standard. 24. Is 36 A standard. So far it's good. It's 28 yards, but there's a penalty. Holding on the defense, so that will be declined. There's an injury on the play too. It's a Dolphin is down. Mr. Kim Bocamper. Well, you know what? We have Mac Moore at the Dolphin 18. McMahon doing it with his feet, doing it with his arm. Peyton outside standard. 26 is 32 B standard. At the 18, 1 yard, full play, second and 9 at the 17. 4 minutes to go. Short to Peyton standard. McMahon 5A standard. They keyed it, but 5A standard. First down and 7, drops to 12. First and 7 would have been the touchdown, so they keyed it off. First and goal at the 5. Well. And the Bears, I mean, is this the way it should happen? I don't know. Up 10-0. Peyton inside G is 36. 24 BG. He gets a yard. Second and goal at the 4. Peyton inside against G-line. Doing it. 52. It's 24. BG is 0. Third and goal at the 4. 2.5 minutes to go. Suey outside G-line is 65. Oh, 17. The standard. I think this is it, folks. And they didn't key him, and that is 4 yards out of bounds. Matt Suey, the unexpected. And the Bears are up, taking a commanding lead here. Mr. Butler for the PAT is good. The Bears up 17. The Dolphins 0. Going to be second and 20 at the 36. Or a minute and a half to go in the third quarter. 3 plays. Medium Clayton, D-line. 46. 26. 46. That's it though. Marino's going to scramble now. Outside against the D-line is 41. Is 30. They caught Marino for a 6-yard loss. That would be a sack typically. So we'll count it as a sack, but apparently the new cards, they're not counting that as a sack. That's a whole discussion. That's going to be a 3rd and 26 at the 30 with a minute to go in the third quarter. And medium to Nathan against the D. 61. 24 BD. That's a 33-yard pick. That's Mr. Gary Fensick. Sits on it right there at the 37, and that's a half play. 38-yard field goal. 52 for Butler. 52 equals 7. From the 21, so it's 4th and 6 at 21. 23 good, and it is 20-0 Bears. So there you have it. 20-0 Chicago on that fateful Monday night game in 1985. Now, I'm just going to recap with a few points here about replaying the Bears and this game specifically. And I'll refer once again back to the 30-year retrospective that the Chicago Tribune posted, which was chock full of the kind of insights usually reserved for Super Bowls or compelling playoff games or those compelling rivalries like Manning and Brady. So let's talk about a few things derived from this story that we know about this game that we just replayed. First of all, let's talk about the weather and the environment overall. Of course, this is South Florida, and the good old Bears are from the frigid north. They were definitely feeling the humidity. Not only that, the Dolphins were subjecting the Bears to all the pomp and celebration of the unbeaten 72 Dolphins team, such that the game didn't really get started until after 9 o'clock. So they were kind of icing the Bears, if you will. And you've got this weather effect. You've got the home field advantage. So it's a couple things, sports simmers, tabletop sports. We always look at that. What does it really mean? Well, in this game, let's listen to Mr. Dan Hampton, Danimal, if you will, talk about the heat in particular. Now, remember, we've been practicing on a rock-hard field of ice for weeks. We go out for pregame, and after that, I came in, went into the shower, took my shoulder pads off, and laid on the cold tile floor trying to get my body temperature down. It was like a shock. Ron Rivera, in this game a reserve linebacker, indeed chimed in. They did everything to beat us. They brought back their 17-0 team, and they made us stand around and watch all that ceremony, in parentheses, as it was going on. I imagine it was a bit more colorful language than that. The game didn't start until well after 9, and it was really hot, and the humidity kicked our posteriors. So, and Shula, I love it. It was just a pretty magical night. Yeah. So, home field advantage, icing the whole team, and the weather definitely has an effect. We know that from these guys. So that's an interesting aspect to apply to a replay like this. But we'll get to this. Do you apply this? And do you want to change the outcomes? I guess that's the thing. So let's then move on to our second point, attitude and chemistry. Now, we knew that Ditka and Ryan were strong personalities, let's say. But as we all know, during the halftime of this Monday night game, which is historically important, I mean, that's why it gets so much attention. I think it's the most watched Monday night game ever to this day. Dick and Ryan had a massive blowout, knockdown, drag out. I mean, the players are standing around shocked listening to this. They're really just arguing about the game plan, which will be our third point here. So you've got that bad kind of chemistry, and add to that, you've got some you've got some attitude issues on the team's part. Again, Mr. Danimal Hampton. Here's the dynamic: put yourself in charge of a bunch of 25-year-old guys going to Miami, and they all think they're Mick Jagger. They're all rock stars. It had the earmarkings of trouble, and years have gone by, and I have heard of certain guys maybe sneaking out and doing this and that. Okay, so goes back a little bit, and he says, not only had we players kind of gone insane and started thinking we were the second coming of David Bowie and Man Mountain Dean all wrapped up in a one, and he goes on to talk about the game plan. But so now you've got weather, you've got environment outside the weather, and you've got attitude and chemistry. You've got all those things you think should modify the game, but they don't necessarily. And as you see, the 85 Bears played exactly as they should have, probably on paper in real life. So let's go to point 3 here: personnel and game plan. And this is really also telling, particularly in context of APBA football and the master game. The Dolphins, by watching film, figured out that they could roll Marino out away from that massive Bears pass rush and use 3 wides all night with Nat Moore instead of the tight end Hardy, so that Moore would constantly be guarded by Marshall, Wilbur Marshall, who outweighs Mr. Nat Moore by just a touch. And Nat Moore is no slouch. He's an A-grade 4-pointer replacing a B-grade 4-point tight end. The Dolphin offense is 44 points regardless, vis-a-vis that 50-point pass defense of the Bears, who also sport a 47-point run defense. So interesting there that we know, based on the players' recollections, that this game plan had been in effect. Also, we know that McMahon did not start. Steve Fuller started. Perhaps contrary to what many replayers would do, started McMahon, as would have probably been optimal. Okay, and that's kind of one of the cores of the what if here, in addition to all those earlier points about weather, environment, chemistry, attitude. I started McMahon over Fuller. Now, they're only a 2-point difference. So the Bears offense drops from 41 without McMahon to 39 with Fuller. Their numbers are quite close, and in fact, in this game, Fuller I used as the holder on a fake field goal from the Dolphin 14, and he ended up throwing a touchdown to one of the tight ends. Had a couple tight ends in there. You're throwing a B index against a G line, and and even though you're supposed to use the punter in that case, well, Buford has McMahon numbers. He's got 5 at 22. So, but in any case, McMahon did not get the start here, but Fuller's no slouch. Okay, Fuller had started the previous 3 games, so the Bears were coming in undefeated 12-0, and Fuller had acquitted himself nicely, playing for the Bears in the 84 season, playing in the playoffs before Chicago bowed to the eventual champion Niners. But going back to Dan Hampton regarding the personnel choice of McMahon or Fuller, quote, for whatever reason, McMahon wasn't willing or able, and Ditka didn't want to start him. I don't know what the hell the deal was, but we decided to go with Steve Fuller. We tried to throw the ball 3 of the first 4 plays with a backup quarterback against a Dolphin defense that was 23rd in the NFL stopping the run. Okay. Now, the Dolphins are actually pointed 2 points higher on their run defense. They're 38 run to 36 pass in this original set. Do we see some recalculation when the set is ultimately back for sale? Who knows? Continuing here, Hampton said that here, Ditka and offensive coordinator Ed Hughes, with the greatest running attack ever assembled, decided to catch him off balance by throwing with a backup quarterback. Now, to be clear, if you haven't played the 85 Bears recently or at all, Peyton and Suey, 2 4-pointers here. Peyton is a 5, Suey is a 4. both good receivers, AB for Peyton, BC for Suey, and they ran roughshod over the Dolphins in this game. So again, as one would probably expect on paper, the Bears have just enough offense to get it done. Okay, I mean you've got a lot of B receivers, and you got Willie Galt, who's a B split A, so he's better at the medium and long pass receptions. Okay, um, add to that the fact that, again, we go back to Nat Moore being the nickel man, the third wide receiver here. Now, in our game, my game here, I started using Moore as a third wide, and I threw in Ken Taylor in place of Fridge as a nickel, although I did not do the master game adjustments. But in reality, here, Mark Clayton talked about their game plan thoroughly. As we watched film that week, we felt like we could have success throwing the ball against them, provided Dan had enough time. And Dan had that quick release anyway. And we also added a wrinkle to the offense that week. We went 3 wide and took out the tight end for Nat Moore, which made linebacker Wilber Marshall have to cover Nat. That's not ideal. As Dan Hampton noted later on when he said, we get them in 3rd and long, and they would block the contain man, and then the quarterback rolls out. Every time on 3rd down they did that, Marino specifically was looking for Moore against Wilber. Wilber at 231 pounds, the article says, although on here he's carded at 225, still not a slight man by any means, had to be covering Moore, who was a 183-pound water bug. Here his list is 188. And they would run ISO routes on Wilber, get open, and convert the first down. Now, you go back to that shouting match with Ditka and Ryan. Apparently, Ditka wanted to go and throw the nickel in. This is the author speaking. Ditka was demanding personnel adjustments from Ryan, and heated conversations came to a head at halftime in the shower area of the cramped locker room in the Orange Bowl, which I believe, was demolished in 2008. Ditka wanted another DB, and Ryan didn't want suggestions from the head coach. Clayton, down the tunnel, you could see the entrance to the locker room, and I could see Buddy Ryan and Mike Ditka about to throw down with one another because Ditka was telling Buddy to take Wilber off Nat Moore. I said, we got him. Hampton, quote, I love Buddy with all my heart, but guess what? Ditka's saying, Wilber's a good player, but he can't cover Moore. Duh, he was right. Sooner or later, you have to face reality, and Nat Moore's a great player. It was a reality check, and I think it really affected Buddy. Even though he was supremely confident and no one's going to tell him what to do, in the light of day, Nat Moore was wearing Wilber out. There are a lot of reasons. It was like a meltdown situation. So, again, now you get the personnel, the game plan, all those factors, attitude, environment, chemistry, personnel, game plan. We know that stuff. And I guess what I'm getting to now is the final point about comparing real life to simulations. Look, you could sim this game 1,000 times, 100,000 times, 1,000,000 times, much like you would simulate, they simulated Muhammad Ali and Rocky Marciano, or you simulate Ali and Tyson. And I think on paper, the Bears win at least 60% of the time, if not 70 or 80% of the time. And I guess what I'm saying is, this game turned out to be all the wrong roles for the Dolphins. I mean, Marino was getting killed with 61s. And I just wrapped the game up, in fact, and he threw a clinching interception to Dewerson. They were sack scrambling him, or scramble sacking him all day long. That's 61 equals 30 or 29. I mean, we know Marino's a quick release and no mobility. That's the dice bore that out. But I mean, it was so lopsided that the dice themselves took care of all those modifications. So I guess the caution is maybe, or just the point of discussion here is, and feel free, obviously, is, to discuss or weigh in is, how much do we feel the urge to do these modifications? I tried to do that leadership mod where Marino tries to rally his troops to elevate the team to an A index from a B index, and then Richard Dent or Singletary as a counterforce does a role to try to reduce the Dolphins index or keep them in check. None of it worked, but the dice played themselves out. Add to that the superstition of rolling, gee, am I putting too many dice of the wrong sizes in this container? Am I, are they moving around enough? And there have been studies about dice rolling, and I'll put one or two of those in here. Dice rolls are not random. And what kind of environment are you rolling on? Are you, is it a hard surface, soft surface? We know it's all, ridiculous because dice don't have memory. You just roll, but there's that superstition. So it's all these issues came to play right here. And I say the Bears played it out perfectly. I mean, and again, the superstition for me, I mean, it's just like the Thanksgiving game, 70 Raiders at Lions. I started on one game table, came into the other, and coming into this other room, this other table, suddenly what was a close game turned exactly on its head. And one team ran roughshod over the other. And the Thanksgiving game, the Raiders just took over and wouldn't look back. And there's nothing the Lions could do about it. As exact situation here. McMahon is scrambling a million times, and he's rolling a 66 equals 3 and picking up 25 yards on a 3rd and long against a light pass defense D line. So, I guess what I'm asking is, I'm a little disappointed. I got to first of all say this is kind of strange. So much so that I'm going to do another bit of content shtick that I've had on the books for a year plus called Apple Football Club Double Play, whereas this is a parallel play where I find a game out in the community, in this case, Steve Ryan's replay of the 85 Bears at Dolphins. I'm going to now do a double play where I play the game again, but this time I'll do it the way a lot of other replayers would do, is with the exact personnel. I'll start the 3 wide. I'll use this story and this data to play it as close to the beginning of the script and let it go where it goes. But it's really interesting when we think about, wow, just how much of these things we'd like to incorporate: home field advantage and icing the team, or leadership mods, motivation at the half, changing the game plan. And you look at this, and this was probably really the Super Bowl, because who doesn't remember Super Bowl 20? I mean, the Dolphins almost graciously or cruelly bowed out to the Patriots 31-14 in the AFC Conference Championship to let the Patriots go on and face that thresher of the Chicago Bears. And the Patriots and Dolphins had split their regular season games. So, 36-point pass defense, 38-point run defense for the Dolphins. They actually acquitted themselves quite well. This was really a field position game early on, really a punting battle, Roby versus Buford, and the Dolphins were playing almost 46 style defense. They had the Bears pinned down, but the dice just turned, and the Bears started winning that battle and earning better field position, while the Dolphins got increasingly desperate. So it probably turned out the way it should have. The Bears are on their way to a perfect season as yet in this version of the outcome of that Monday night game. And they'd only had 3 games after this: the Colts, Jets, and Lions, which they won. They only beat the Colts by 7. They beat the Jets by 13, and then they trounced the Lions by 20 points before shutting out the Giants and Rams in the playoffs, and the Patriots pretty much virtually shutting them out 46-10 in the Super Bowl. I think the Patriots scored a field goal in the first quarter and a touchdown at the end. So, yeah. So, I don't know. I felt a little bummed, and I feel like superstition's kind of hovering around here. But the Bears, they are who we thought they were. The 85 Bears, as carded in the 1986 copyright team, did everything they should have done and more. And Marino could not get the rolls. I mean, I don't think he had a 66 all night, maybe a 33 once, a couple of 51s, 31s. You can't just, I mean, obviously, that, unless you're wiggling, doing that kind of thing. And even that, you believe this? Do you believe this? I swear to God, I'm rolling all the 66s in my demos. Thanks for tuning in. We'll do it again just for the sake of testing here, and tune in if you dare to round 2 of the Bears at Dolphins 1985.